and it'll come to me and tell me you're going to time out. If I go to the Amex website, it'll tell me I'm going to time out. Now, both of those sites use a technique called client-side scripting, where they actually download a little program to your machine, and your machine is looking at the timing. Well, the flip side of that is a lot of people block client-side scripting because that also opens the door for Trojan horses, viruses, worms, etc. So we're constantly juggling. Do we add a feature that requires client-side scripting and makes the application process friendlier, easier to use, and maybe perhaps even quicker, at the risk of blocking those people? Like, we lose the Mac users very frequently, and they're only 10% of the audience, but I don't think you'd want us to come back to you and say, well, we have 148,000 applications this year because we put a feature in and we ran all the Mac users off. So that's the constant challenge, and we want to do something, and we're trying to come up with the best way we can do it. Right now, what we're doing is we're changing the messaging to make it clearer what happened to you, because you didn't know until I talked to you, and I said, well, I don't know how long you took to do this, but if you took more than 20 minutes after your last submit key, and you said, I did, because I went back to the book and I was looking, trying to help these guys figure out where they should apply, and you said, that's exactly what happened to me, but I didn't know it, your website didn't tell me, and you were justifiably upset about it. So.
We've made the error, like Don said, we've made the error message clearer, but what I always kind of like to say about our programming technique, we try to program close to the least common denominator computer out there to make sure that the most restrictive or a very restricted computer can still get through our website. But part of what that does is eliminate some of the nice, polished, slick features that you can have if you assume that the computer will allow you to do everything that today's programming languages will allow.
Now that I'm aware of it, it's probably not going to happen again, but maybe if there's something at the beginning of the app that says if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. Like I said, I'm sure I'm not the only one that's happened to. Because I've had other people talk to me about it, and once I told them that, then they're like, oh, okay, we thought it was just the computer setup.
Yeah, this is Bob Hoyen, operations. Certainly one thing that I think we can do is a better job of in the hunt books, the application book, provide a little more of that. Because one thing that complicates this, and we've seen it a number of times, where folks will start that session and they haven't figured out what species they want to hunt. Sometimes they're not sure who they want to hunt with, and they really need to come to the table a little better prepared than they are.
Just one of the issues, since we're talking about it, that I had and that I heard from a lot of folks is just on the main list of all the hunts you can apply for. I mean, that list has gotten extremely long with the advent of the Silver State and the Dream Tag. My suggestion there was if we could even split it out into categories, main draw or main hunt type things, and then special hunts, and here's all the Silver State tags and here's all the Dream tags, even a what is this for the people that maybe don't know what a Silver State and a Dream tag are. That would be a huge help, because I can't tell you how many calls I had of people saying, hey, when I get to this list, my eyes are going crossed and I'm not sure what I've applied for and what I haven't, and what a Dream tag versus a Silver State tag is. So if there's any way we could add a little more clarity and maybe some background on that would be much appreciated.
I think we can do that.
I think that's a great idea, and something we'd probably like to talk to you about offline, some suggestions. We've gone back and forth with Utah. They've actually talked about having 2 application processes, and we've really resisted that. They say they would like to have one for the 85% of their hunters who've been there before, know what they're doing, and don't want to be, popped up or any of that kind of stuff, and then one for the guy who's basically never been there before and really doesn't know his way through it. And they don't want the people who've been there before to get wizarded through a website very tediously when they know what they're doing, they know what they want, but they also don't want to expose the newcomer to the complexity, because like you say, I mean, if a guy moves into the state, what does Silver State or Dream Tag mean? I mean, it is absolutely unfathomable to him. And so if we can talk about a way that we could have it broken up, that it would be clearer to the newcomer and also not obtrusive to the existing guys. I think that'd be fantastic. So.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to take a monumental change. I think just, you know, maybe some categories to simplify it. I say that, not ever programming, so.
No, I stand up here and listen to a lot of this sometimes, and I'm thinking in my mind, oh my God, how in the heck, this one, I can do this for you. That's quite doable. Yes, sir.
You know, I guess it's because I'm an attorney, but it seems to me the pop-ups are really good. And having as many pop-ups that inform the applicant of whatever the issues are, it seems to me to be a really good idea. You're never going to have all of your clients be as detail-oriented as probably I am when I'm going through my application. But I think that if something happens, like the gentleman who wrote the letter in with regard to not getting the restrictions on, you know, on the roadless, the road restrictions on the Sheldon, you know, by having those kind of things in there, whether they're in wilderness or, you know, whatever the issue is, you know, maybe wildfires, or, you know, I'd say put as much in there as possible, because in the end, it just makes it a lot easier if you got a complaint that you can point to that says, well, you know what, when you applied, you had to acknowledge that you had this information, and that becomes the end of it, as far as I'm concerned. Because if they were to come back to the commission and system consultant says, well, wait a second, we had a pop-up, you check the box, boom. You know, I just think that's a good thing.
This is Don Sefton again from Systems Consultants. We've had interesting experiences with the pop-ups. When Arizona still had an online process, we were involved with it, and they have a calendar year license year, and a great deal of confusion because you could apply in September or October for something that requires next year's license. And people were really confused about which license they should purchase, and we tried to do it with pop-ups, and I put a sign, a stop sign, a graphic up on the octagonal red sign with the big white letters, and we had 20 people purchase the wrong license on one day, and we were just throwing our hands up. And probably Kathy Telegatis can tell you that for several years there on the consumer side, we've had people who've bought licenses in the wrong year in February or January, and they were having to void them and reissue. And we finally came up with a solution for that is not quite a pop-up, but we actually asked them a question that answering it, they had to have read it. In other words, they have to answer the question, when are you going to hunt with this license? When we, that 1 month period where we're offering both license years, they have to say, well, I want to hunt in March of 2012 or 2013. And that absolutely makes it unambiguous. They had to have read it to answer the question. It isn't just a matter of they're putting in their initials or hitting enter. So I think if there's something that's of a critical legal nature, we have to do something like that. And that cements the deal that they did read it, because they couldn't have answered it if they didn't. So.
I have a follow-up on the pop-ups. I look at the breakdown of our in-state residents that apply for tags, and Park County is about 30%, Washoe County 30%, and the rurals are, you know, it's pretty evenly distributed, even though the population is different. Our rural people don't have a lot of high-speed internet access, and you start throwing more stuff at those computers on those slow things. I was trying to do an application for one of my employees this year on the deadline day, right before the deadline, and I was using my 3G Sprint card, and I ended up calling my son that was hooked up at home, and he beat me through the process because he could get there and I couldn't. And I was in San Diego and good coverage. So the more stuff you throw at it, you know, you're saying more pop-ups are good, and I'm sitting there going, 33% of our clients' system cannot handle the pop-ups. And I think that's an issue.
And this is Don Sefton, Systems Consultants. I'm glad that the chairman brought up this issue, because on the last day we had people who said, your site is slow. And we had a perfect example with Commissioner Robb because he was in San Diego and it was slow for him. He called his son, and his son in Reno had no problems going through the site. Same server, same thing. The response time issue wasn't us, it was your provider, in this case, Verizon, I guess, down in, or Sprint, down in.
I was working on my Sprint card, and I had
Yep.
full bars, and it's
Yep.
a good 3G card and usually handles it, but you start throwing too many pop-ups and too much information, your computer and your server can't handle it, and that's a big issue for 30 to 40% of our clients. It really is.
We have amazingly fast internet out there, but I run into people, you know, that have that constantly, so, yeah.
Onward. Non-resident bonus points by success. 0.74% with 0 points, or got mate and did 29 tags. And it goes on up. Those were, oh. Works its way on up through the 20-point category, and there they were nearly 7% were successful. 6 were successful, 81 were unsuccessful. Clients applying for a bonus point only. And I've given you 3 years worth of data broken out by resident and non-resident. Buck deer 1331 went from not quite 1,200 to 1,500 this year on the resident side. Desert bighorn went from 2,100 to 2,300. I think the chart explains itself. Applications submitted in the bonus point period after the full application period had closed. Last year we took 2,600 applications, and this year we took 3,200 applications, bonus points only. And this is a great another great thing that's happened to us. We're just thrilled with. Most of your clients know when the application period is going to end, but there's always the fellow that calls up and said, I heard it was the next day. To tell them that they can apply for a bonus point just eliminates so many upset clients on the phone. It's a great thing. It kind of gives you a softer close, or gives us a softer close to the website, and is really beneficial to us, and it's good for your clients. Post-draw, points held by clients after the draw. Antlered mule deer, there were more than 12,000 of them with 1 point, going all the way up to one client with 14 points. Mountain goat, 1,300 with 1 point. And it keeps going on up. It goes to the next page, and you get up to all the way with people with 21 points, and there's 96 clients with 21 points for a goat. I could read numbers all day, but that's what's going on there. Non-residents, same deal. 3,500 non-residents with a point for deer. If you follow on over to the next page, that goes all the way up to 3 clients with 20 points for non-resident clients with 20 points for deer. Clients, multiple applications, clients that drew more than 1 tag. We had 5,700 clients this year, 8 of them were either cursed or blessed. They drew 4 tags. And none of those were PIW tags. And then you look on down, there were 460 clients that drew 3 tags. And if you count PIW in there, there were 461 clients. And then on the next page, if you factor out the deer and the antelope, horn-shouldered ears, and the cow elk, and only look at the trophy tags, one fellow out there had drew 3 trophy tags, and there were 2. I wasn't going to say nothing. And we going down, there were 4,600 people drew a single trophy tag. Dream tags. Dream tag, I guess just to say dream tag chances. For Nelson, we sold through the Nevada Wildlife Data System, we sold 5,700 chances, and through Big Game, we sold nearly 13,000 chances. And in Big Game remaining, the remaining draw, we did 219 for a total of 18,600 chances. In total, revenue that was generated, $363,000, and this is for the chances, and that was for 72,000 chances. The resource enhancement stamp that was necessary to go along with that, we sold over 8,000 resource enhancement stamps for $80,000. Client demographics. You had 40,000 residents, 17,000 non-residents, 57,102 clients. And then looking on the next page at the residency, non-resident percentages as they've changed. And you're up again a little bit this year to 29.5%. And it's been climbing again for the past couple of years. There was a drop back in 2009 and 10. Resident by county of address. The big percentage hitter there looks like Eureka. Over 16% of the general population, I calculate, applied in the big game application period. There were 333 applicants. Obviously, Clark brought the lion's share of clients, though, with 10,419 clients. We always have a few unknowns. There are addresses that my address software just can't come up, won't produce a county for, so I don't know. There were 547 clients that I did not have a county identified to. Web and paper applications by county. Bob Hoyen's going to, I think, talk to this more. Looking at my numbers here, just scanning down, it looks like Mineral County had the least percent of clients that were applying on the web. They had just not quite 89%. Everybody else is in the 90 percentile range somewhere. Carson City, There was one client that applied on both web and paper, and then there were 60 that applied on paper only, and 935 that applied on the web. Applicants by state. California, as is always, produced the most non-resident clients for you. There were 6,800. Utah was number 2 with 1,800, and it goes on down: Oregon, Idaho, and Washington. And there were a total of 17,000 non-resident addresses in the big game draw this year.
I find it interesting that Arizona, we don't have more Arizona applicants. Maybe we need to think about advertising more in Arizona.
Would you expect Arizona to be bigger than Washington?
They actually have been in the past. They were higher before. And in fact, Utah has seen a lot of growth, and Bob and I were just talking about that offline here. In the old days, I think Utah had about 1,000 or under 1,000, and California was always the leader. But both Utah and Oregon have grown, and Arizona has dropped off, and I don't know what that is, but that may be a good point about advertising it more down there.
Applicant age. The median age held across the board this year for both the residents and the non-residents. Median resident age was 43 years, and non-resident was 49 years and 5 months. And the oldest resident was 96 this year. Oldest non-resident was 90. Return tags. And I'd like everybody to understand, I started working on this presentation a number of weeks ago. These numbers are as of August 21. There have been a lot more tags returned since then, but these were the numbers on that day. Junior tags, 5. Antlerless mule deer, 2. 1331. We had 81 tags. And you can see your any reason option has been quite popular. The lion's share of them are returned under the any reason category. And it continues on to the next page. And for any reason, as of near the end of August, we had 254 tags returned, and I suspect that number is in excess of 500 now. Credit card declines, 46, military 1, deceased 8, medical 46. Been a lot of tags returned this year, 355 as of August 21st. And Mr. Chairman Rob, does this next slide answer your question about why people return tags, or the any reason tags?
Yes, I reviewed this prior, and this is what we're after. And
That was the cut on it that you were looking for?
yes.
So, you know, I was asked to look at if clients were returning a tag for any reason, were they returning all of their tags or just a portion of their tags? So clients that returned one tag, 130 of them only had one tag. There were 82 that had 2 tags, 23 that had 3, and 1 that had 4. And then clients with that returned 2 tags, 7 of those had returned all of their tags, and two of them had an additional tag. our problems, our solutions. This is the part that is most uncomfortable for me. Okay, number one, guided applications. We send out pre-printed guided applications to the guides each year, and they're essentially the seasons that we sent mailed out to all the guides on all the applications. It was a draft version of the seasons that had not been approved by NDEL. Resident line tags, this is the second year I've reported this, but it was different this year. We mailed out 4 tags to clients that identified them as 5232 rather than 5132. We had this problem last year. We fixed the problem. I'll go into the details later, but we only did 4. We stopped the bleeding much earlier this year. There was one client that was prevented from applying because we said he hadn't filed his harvest report, and I'll go into the detail on that. It was not true. He had. There was a client that transferred points from 9251 to 9151, and he didn't get the benefit of those points, and he should have. This one was an ugly day. Clients that we opened the return card website shortly after the draw was over with, and there were clients that were able, by looking at the list of return cards that were there to file or had been filed, they were able to guess whether or not they had drawn a tag that year. And this is before we'd released the information. And I'll have a detail slide on each one of these, and I'll go into exactly what was going on there. They were right in a way. And then also, we were still taking turkey harvest reports before I had released big game. And once clients submitted their turkey harvest reports, we updated their eligibility, and they saw when we updated their eligibility for the turkey, it updated the eligibility for the big game, and they saw a change in their points, whether they were successful or unsuccessful. All of this comes from a good deed that I did. I said, you know, we usually have this site locked down for several days after the draw. We're moving faster this year. We can get the site open early. And I opened the site. It had never been opened before the 48-hour release until last year. And both of these exposed two bugs that no one had ever noticed. Clients that drew a sheep tag this year, their results letter said, thank you very much, and don't forget your mandatory indoctrination. Well, that was a change, and no one, while we do QA and proof the results letters, no one caught it on a sheep letter, and they all went out with referring to the mandatory indoctrination. And then I've had multiple problems this year with decline credit card tags. We have handled multiple tags at different times incorrectly. We've caused tags to be reissued when they should not have been, and I'll go down the list of those in the detail. When we were reallocating a tag, there was a fellow that had that looked kind of like a resident, but he was a non-resident, and he had a resident address, and the supervisor didn't look closely enough, and we issued a resident tag to a non-resident. And then in the first come first served process, we allowed the over allocation of quota by one tag, and we pulled that tag back. But there was a programming flaw because of in it that was missed in the testing that allowed people to buy tags even though the quota was exhausted. Okay, back to the guided paper applications. There are 4 sections in our